All right, in this lesson, I'm only going to do the odd problems. And as you can tell, I've already got my Calculate 84 up and running because all of these problems are going to require me to use a calculator. And I have a tendency to, my own preferences, the TI emulators, so that's why I'm going to use the Calculate 84. If you have any questions about using Desmos, please let me know. I can absolutely show you how to use Desmos to do all of these problems. Again, odd problems only for the video. The key that I will post up in Canvas will have all of the answers, so you can double check your work. And if, again, any questions, let me know, message me, pop into Zoom, whichever. All right, so problem number 1. Let's go ahead and zoom on in here. First thing I tend to do is I tend to identify the angle I'm working with. So 58 degrees. I know that this is the opposite side. I know that that's the hypotenuse. Now that I've labeled that, I can use my trig function, which in this case is going to be sine of the reference angle. So 58 is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. If you want to show the over 1, so you make sure you're doing your cross multiplication correctly, totally fine. So 7 sine of 58. All right, so x is already by itself, so this is going to go in my calculator. Remember for these problems to make sure that your calculator or your technology of whatever form is in the correct mode. We are talking about degree mode here, so I just popped onto mode, double check degree, I am correct. So go ahead and quit out of that. So 7 sine 58. And I think this did have directions. Yeah, everything is supposed to be round to the nearest 10th. So it's just going to be one decimal place. So x is equal to 5.9. And we do know the units in this case. We're going to call it inches since x represents the side of the triangle. All right. I'm going to go ahead and roll on down to number 3 here. Again, I'm just doing the odds. The even problems will be in part of the key. So you can check those answers if you want to. All right, so here's my reference angle of 27 degrees. We've got opposite for 13 centimeters, adjacent for x. So that tells me I'm going to be using tangent of 27 is equal to opposite over adjacent. Put the 1 in there if it makes you happy. We're going to cross multiply here. So 13 equals x tangent. That is a horrible AN. So tangent 27. Divide everything by the tangent of 27. 27. So let's see. X is going to equal whatever 13 divided by tangent of 27 is. So 25.5. And again, X represents a side here. So this is going to be centimeters because we know our units. All right. Sliding on down to number 5 here. Let's see, we've got a 25 degree reference angle. We're going to go opposite for x, hypotenuse for 4 here. So this is going to be the sine of 25 equals x over 4. Let's go ahead and cross multiply here. So right into the calculator with 4 sine of 25. And I'm getting x is equal to 1.7 if I round it. And we're talking about inches here. All right, so that takes care of the first 3 questions there. Or the first 3 odd questions, I should say. Let's see, number 7, we're looking for an angle and again, round to the nearest 10th. Okay, so same directions as the last kind. So our angle is right here. There's theta. I'm going to label the 2 sides of the triangle that I know. So opposite and adjacent, which tells me that I need to be using tangent. So tangent of theta is equal to 14.1 over 12. I'm going to do the inverse tangent of both sides. And again, this is absolutely a calculator issue. That is absolute horrible writing. So let's try that again. There we go. Remember to get inverse tangent. You want to grab the tangent that has a little -1 attached to it. So it's going to be second tangent. And then I'm going to do 14.1 divided by 12, close that parentheses, hit enter. And I'm going to get theta is equal to 49.6 degrees because we are talking about an angle measure here. Okay, so make sure your angles are identified as degrees. So let's see, number 9, theta is sitting right up at the top. Let's see, 2 meters down here is going to be opposite. 6.2 meters is hypotenuse. So that's going to talk to me about sine of theta is equal to opposite over hypotenuse, so 2 over 6.2. Do the inverse sine of both sides, all right? So theta is going to equal, into my calculator, that whole mess goes. So the inverse sine of 2 over 6.2, close it, enter, and theta is equal to 18.8 degrees. A little itty bitty angle. All right, so on to page 2 here. We're still covering just the odd problems. So problem number 11, theta is right here. We've got opposite, we have hypotenuse, talking about sine. So let's see, sine of theta is equal to 6.1 over 8. Do the inverse sine of both sides. And into the calculator, whoa, not E, into the calculator it goes. See, this is why you look at your calculator while you're typing things. All right, so theta is equal to 49 point, I think that's going to round to 7 degrees. Okay, so that takes care of problem number 11. Now, the last 2 problems here that I'm going to cover, 13 and 15. Let me make sure there is a 15. Yeah, there's a 15. Okay. It says to solve each triangle. Now, that sounds a little bit weird, but basically what you're looking to do is fill in all of the missing information. So I want to know this angle measure here, so angle A. I want to know the length of AB, and I want to know the length of AC. So those 3 things we need to find. Now, measure of angle A is probably one of the easiest ones. And so I'm going to do measure angle A is equal to, now, if we remember, the 3 angles of a triangle are supposed to add up to be 180 degrees. I know this angle is 33.6. I know the right angle is 90. So if I take 180 minus 90 minus 33.6, I now know the measure of angle A. So 56.4 degrees. So that's one of my answers. Now let's say I want to find the length of AB. I'm going to call this X for giggles. Okay. And I'm going to use the angle that I was given here. X is my hypotenuse, and I know the adjacent side. So using that information, I can talk about the cosine of 33.6 is equal to the adjacent over the hypotenuse. If I cross multiply, whoops, it also helps if I put all the angles in the right place. So 33.6. Let's see, divide. I am having writing issues tonight. All right, 33.6, there we go. Cosine 33.6. So this is going to get me X is equal to 4 divided by cosine 33.6. So X is equal to 4.8. So the length of AB is 4.8, and I do know it's miles in this case, so am I. All right, so that gives me 2 of the 3 pieces of information I wanted. The third piece of information, I will call this, that's going to get a little confusing, so I'll call this Y. You can call it whatever you want. You could call it smiley face, and you can solve for the smiley face, all right? Now, what I do know is this angle of 33.6 hasn't changed. This is still my adjacent side, and this is now my opposite side. So if I use adjacent and opposite, I would have the tangent of 33.6 is equal to opposite over adjacent. Do a little cross multiplying here. So y is equal to 4 tangent of 33.6. 4 tangent. Make sure I got it all in the right place. So I get y is equal to 2.7 if I do my rounding correctly, and that would be miles. So the length of CA or AC is equal to 2.7 miles. All right, so that's how you solve the triangle, because now we found every piece. We know all the sides, we know all the angles. That's the solving piece of it, okay? So we're gonna do that one more time, and that will be the end of this video. And then you can go in and do any practice that you want with the even problems and double check it against the key. All right, so number 15 here, we basically wanna know angle B. We want to know the length of CB here, and we want to know the length of AB here. So to me, it's always the easiest one to find the angle first if I know two of my angles. So the measure of angle B, so I'm going to do 180 minus the right angle of 90 minus the angle of 31, and I get an angle of 59 degrees. So that part's done. Let's say I want to find CB here, so I'm going to call that X. You can call them whatever you want, okay? But I'm just going to pick X. I tend to pick X and Y. So here's my reference angle. So X is opposite. This is adjacent. So that means I'm going to be talking about tangent. So tangent of 31 is equal to the opposite side over the adjacent side. So that means X is equal to 6 times the tangent of 31. So into my calculator it goes. And so X is going to equal 3.6. So the length of CB, or BC, order doesn't matter, is going to be 3.6 kilometers. KM was our units for our sides. All right, and one more time, I'm going to do AB here. I'm going to label that as Y, and I know that's the hypotenuse. So let's see. If I use adjacent and hypotenuse, I would have cosine of 31 equals the adjacent over the hypotenuse. So 6 is equal to Y cosine of 31. Divide everything by cosine of 31. There we go. That's just awful looking. Let me try that again. All right. Cosine 31. Get all the letters in the right order there. All right. So y is equal to, do my division on my calculator, which basically means calculate 84 here. All those 9s are going to round up to just a 7 even. So the length of AB is equal to 7 kilometers. All right, I hope this has given you a little bit of practice and some understanding into how you find the missing sides, missing angles, and in this case, the last two problems, how you solve a triangle to find all of the missing information. Any questions or concerns, let me know. And if you want to have any of these problems done with Desmos, let me know that as well.